Hello everybody, Anna Sabramowitz here, your interactive storytelling coach. Hope you're doing fantastic today. Let's talk about interactive stories. Let's talk about scenarios, and let's talk about how we're going to make them even more compelling and difficult. Because one of the things that I get feedback about a lot is, well, Anna, this actually seems pretty obvious to me. These answers seem pretty obvious to me. So these options in this scenario, so how can I make them more difficult, more challenging for the person who is making this decision? And there's a very strategic and awesome way to do this, and I will share that with you and then lead you to an example that will show you how to do that as well. So you can see it in action. All right, so you better say hi. I'm just going to turn on my chat. Any questions that pop up right in the middle of this, you better pop them in the chat. I love to hear what you have to say. And also, I just wanted to say, thanks so much for being here. I know that you could be doing a million other things. It is Monday, but you're choosing to hang out with me because you want to become masterful at crafting amazing scenarios and interactive stories, and I appreciate that. All right, so first off, we're just going to really look at the sequence of events as they unfold in a good scenario, and then where you can add this magical feature called the contagonist distractor to give it more complexity, depth, and maybe add a little bit of, what do we call, doubt to somebody making the right decision. Hope that sounds good. So let me know. All right. And I'm going to be sharing some stuff with you. So please let me know if you can actually, I told you this plant is just trying to take over now. No plant. All right. So, all right. Hopefully you can see this. Cool. All right. So really at its core, right? What's a scenario? It's a sequence of events. This is actually a big beat. That's what we're calling in interactive stories. We actually call this a beat, major beat. But anyways, this is a bunch of situations that come together, right? That lead you to a place where you have to make a decision, right? Like this, we call it the decisive moment. And then at this decisive moment, you're like, oh, what are you going to do, right? And you get offered all these choices, which is fun and extremely compelling because you get to make decisions and to see how the rest of the story goes, which is awesome. And then based on those decisions, you see the consequence of what happens next, right? So this is basically a consequence. Now, and it's funny because I think this only happens really to people who are really engrossed in the topic, because if you're really knowledgeable about, what you're doing, and a lot of us do become more knowledgeable about the topics that we collaborate on with our stakeholders because, well, simply as a result of, if you work with somebody for a long time, you basically understand their context and their content, and you think you become the subject matter expert. But what also happens as a result, which is kind of terrible, is that we start to feel a little too comfortable with the topic, a little too comfortable with the subject matter, and we forget what it's like to be in the mindset of a novice. And so that's why this is very important, to actually make this a more credible set of really good choices here. You can't rely on your own ideas, and you can't rely on the experts, because the experts are also too far removed from this process, right? So what you need to do is you need to talk to practitioners. And when I say practitioners, I mean people who are living in the context of these decisions for them are not some sort of sorry, I lost the word, but it's not fiction to them. They are actually, every day they come in and this is the decision that they make. And so also what's very important is that person you're talking to basically living the reality that you're trying to represent in your interactive story. One of the things you want to do is talk to people who recently have been faced with these dilemmas and made the wrong choice. As in somebody who is really good at what they do now, but they just got there like 6 months ago. They still remember what it's like to be new. That's really important. That's really, really important. Because when you're new, even though, and a lot of times people will be like, this isn't a scenario. How can we make this into scenario? If they just follow the protocol, if they just check off the checklist, they're going to do the right thing. But if training was that easy, then we wouldn't be in business, right? It would be like, here's the checklist and here's the protocol, go do it. There's a reason people mess up. They've got feelings about themselves, about the situation. They make assumptions, all the stuff that messes you up when you're making a decision, right? Now, sometimes you can't share all this belief stuff here. So what do? This is where the contagonist comes in. Super sneaky, super awesome strategy. So get this, you're going to be excited. All right, so, and you get this from the practitioner, okay? You don't make this stuff up because you're never going to know. Unless you know, but you're not living in that context, right? If you're making sales training and you don't go out to the field and make sales, I don't care how many times you've read the manual or watched videos, you don't sell. You got to talk to people who sell, who have to knock on doors, right? So here's what's cool. This is it. So let's say you still have you can still see it. But don't worry about the words, focus on what I'm saying. Focus on that. You've got a bunch of like things that happen that lead this person to this decisive moment. What are they going to do, right? They're just kind of faced with it. They're like, oh, here's a dilemma. What do we do next? Now, before they even get to the choices, they're going to get some advice from this person. And the person, it's not their like enemy. They're not like, oh, I'm going to, make you bad or make you suffer, or I'm going to make sure you make a mistake. That's not how it works. You know how if you're ever like around people who really mean well for you, but they're looking at the world through their own context? Well, there's gonna be like, if you go out, if you go in any situation, I'm gonna use hypothetical situation here. Let's say you're going out to the park, right? And there's a pool, and there's going to be the one buddy who's like, go for it, jump in. It's cold, but you're going to feel like a rock star. And then there's the other person who's like, don't, it's cold. We're going to break rules. It says don't jump in because it's too cold, right? Both of those people aren't hurting you, aren't trying to hurt you. They're just both kind of have their own perspective, their own beliefs about the situation. And they're not like your enemies. They're people you trust. And so the thing is that what they're doing, and this is the coolest thing, is their job, in this particular situation, this is very strategic. We're not messing around here. Anything that comes out of the contagonist distractor's mouth is meant to represent a doubt or a belief or a type of point of view that people have when they make this particular decision. None of this is going to be whimsical. All of this is a strategy, because you guys were in the persuasion business, right? So here, I've gathered information, the intel, that somebody would be thinking certain things when they're making this decision. That's what messes them up. And so these people here, all they're doing is they're actually explicitly vocalizing it without saying, you're thinking this, you're messing this up. So I might, in a traditional scenario, be like, hey, I get a decisive moment and I'm like, yeah, sure. Yeah, of course it's this one. Duh, that's the right answer. Yeah, but what if you get told by your buddy saying, yeah, but did you consider this? Are you thinking about that? Now it's a different question, right? Now I have more doubt. Now I have different things. And if somebody is new at this, some of these will be very compelling, what this person tells me. I might consider that. I might say, yeah, that's actually true. Interesting. It's a very sneaky way, but it's a very effective way. And what's cool is you don't have to use it on every single question, but it works. It absolutely works, especially if, your choices may feel obvious. You can't write them in some weird long way. The goal is to make your choices all look very credible and very like each one of them to a novice should look like each one of them is valid, right? And so one of the things that this does is it adds this extra doubt, extra layer, and it reveals some of the things that people think about in the back of their minds as they're making a decision that wouldn't necessarily be, something that you would actually include in the question itself or in the decision point itself. So that to me is kind of the fun part of this, right? So the other thing, which is really cool, is I thought about, because I write an email to my list. So if you guys want to get on my list, definitely let me know. But one of the things I thought about today, and I don't know why, is Tina Turner. I grew up on her music. Yes, she was really hot in communist Poland too. when I was there, it was communist. So, but one of the things that I learned, and fairly recently, is that one of my favorite songs, Private Dancer, right? Of course, huge hit, was like a song that she hated performing. She hated doing that song. And every time, of course, it was a big hit. So every time you go to the concert, people would request that she sing that song. And she did that, which is cool. I mean, you know, you got to get paid, right? You got to do stuff. And I thought about how we do that in our own lives, how we sometimes take on projects that are not the best representation of us. Sometimes we put out things that are not the best representation of us. Hell, I've done that, right? And sometimes you take things on because, especially if you're a freelancer or you have a lot of pressure around you from the department, even if you're working internally, I've been in those situations where I've basically been sat in the meeting saying, listen, I like your ideas, but this is how we're going to do things, okay? And basically that was it. And you can push as much as you want, but it's got to be incremental. And sometimes you just get stopped. But there's a point, right? There's a point when you can say, fine, okay, it's almost like I've paid my dues. I'm going to do something different now. And enough is enough. And I don't know what that point even for Tina was, because I know that even for Tina Turner, after she split up and did her whole like awesomeness with, you know, with Ike, then she did like these terrible cabaret shows where I'm sure they weren't terrible, but they weren't her, you know, she was like, I could do so much better. I'm sure she was walking into those little Vegas venues going, my God, is this it, right? I'm paying the bills. I'm paying the bills. But then she had some kind of moment where she said, this isn't me, and this isn't the end of me. And then she just went on to create, like, you know, became the rock star, the solo performer that she was, broke Guinness world records for having like the largest filled stadium full of people because she was living her truth, right? She was doing her thing. Even though some of those things that she did were still not exactly what she wanted to do, she was moving forwards towards her goal, which to me is so inspiring. Can't wait to read her autobiography. But anyways, or biography, but I thought about us, right? Like, you're going to have a moment in your life that you're going to say, this is not me. Like, I want to do more. I'm capable of more, so much more. But your clients keep coming to you with like, hey, you know what? We had this crappy thing and now we're going to turn it into this less crappy page turner. Can you do that for us? And you're like, man, I could do so much more with this. But they keep on asking for that. And there's a moment where you got to say, okay, is this what I want to do for the rest of my life? Or do I want to take it to the next level and maybe put myself outside of my comfort zone? Because I've been hitting this wall over and over again. The common denominator is me hitting the wall. I wonder if there's something in my approach that I could change. So if you've hit that wall and you want to get into creative, engaging, behavior changing, persuasive kind of work, which is called interactive storytelling, and add this to your skill set, I want to talk to you. Now, if you're the kind of person who's gonna keep on hitting the wall, like, go for it. I mean, you gotta get there on your own. I can't help you make the decision, right? You gotta do that, because then you own that moment and then it becomes something that you're passionate about, because you're gonna have to do the work. I'm just gonna be here to help, right? But you gotta be the one driving that. You got to be the person wanting that. And that's important. That's so important. And also, if you're okay with, you know, paying the bills, but also doing the stuff that, you know, maybe you've found some other way to be creative someplace else and it's no longer, you've given up on that being your work, that's fine. I don't want to talk to you. I want to talk to people who know that they're at like an 8.5 and they want to get to 10, not because somebody else is telling them to, but because that's what they believe they are capable of and they want it. And those are the people that produce results. Those are the people that launch interactive stories and kick butt in my coaching program. So if that sounds like you, I want to talk to you because I think we can do amazing things together. All right. So I'll put the link to my calendar underneath the video. I know it's kind of like a recruitment video, eh? And you guys can book a strategy session with me and we'll basically talk about if this is a fit alignment with your goals and how I can help you get there. So I hope you enjoyed the Contagonist Distractor, an excellent example of this. I'll put some link underneath the video so you guys can check it out. And it's a really solid strategy as far as I'm concerned that is if used strategically, it just adds so much more depth and volume and and complexity to a situation that seems straightforward. So I hope you enjoyed that. Nikita, great to have you here, and Padmavati. I hope I said that right. Thanks so much. All right, you guys, have a wonderful rest of the day. And if I don't see you on a strategy session, I will see you here again tomorrow. All right, take care, friends. Bye. And thanks for being here. I appreciate it. Bye.